when you're a year and a half old, you poop in a diaper. And then,
Right.
and everybody's fine with that, you know?
Right.
You know,
Right.
and like, you're 6 years old, and it's like, that's not okay anymore, like TikTok. And then the 6-year-old have a little tantrum and whatever. It's like, but now you're 11 and that's not okay anymore. And then the 11-year-old being like all like over the place and exuberant in a way that like, yeah, but now you're 16 and that's not okay anymore. And then the 16-year-old who's blowing off the, like commitments and whatever, and now you're 23 and that's not okay anymore. And then the 23-year-old who gets their first job and they do all sorts of goofy stuff and whatever. Now you're 31 and that's not okay anymore. And then, like, and it just keeps going on.
Right.
Right.
Right. Welcome back to the podcast Beyond, where Mark and I talk about happiness. And as much as we hope you're all very, very happy out there, this is a podcast that's a little different. We talk about not just happiness, but sort of that happiness is the booby prize. Being happy is great, but what happens when you get away from happiness? How do you get back there? That's what this podcast is about, getting back to happiness and what it takes to get back there when you metaphorically fall off the happiness horse. Okay. So that's where we're going. And where do you want to begin today, Mark?
So, yeah, that's a good question. Very good question. In fact, it's a very, very good question.
Thinking, are you?
I know I actually do have an answer. I have it. The answer, so about, it's going on 10 months now. About 10 months ago, my partner came to me during a moment when I thought that I was being quite impressive, quite
Hmm. Well,
authentic.
I always think you're impressive, but
Well, yeah,
that's
no, not like that. Not like that. It's just like, I thought I was being real authentic and real, and so in other words, I thought what I was doing was a feature. And basically, he said to me, I don't even want to be in the room with this. Like,
really.
he's like, I don't want it literally. He's like, and made it really clear. It's like, I'm not leaving, but I'm leaving. Like what I'm saying, right? Like, and
Going out for the walk.
he almost did, except that what he said to me at that moment so landed that I was like, oh my God, I totally get why you would want to not be with the way I've been being. I'm entirely over the top. And I'm just getting
You over the top. I mean, being
blah.
funny.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, no, I was really being emotionally over
that's
the
a
top.
family trait. That's a family trait, I think, from where we grew up.
I
But
think you
doesn't
had um, to be seen, you had to be over the top. So there was
I
a lot
agree?
of loud, and I'm not just talking about the Italian side of the family where Italian, I was like, huge stereotype here, your mileage may vary, but like Italian people can be loud, right? But loud and loving, loud and expressive. It was our nuclear family where it was loud because you were out louding the other person. You were trying to drown out the crazy and then that's
And
what stays with you.
and I think that we handled that in different ways. I mean, I got as I was younger, I compressed that and got smaller. And the reason I say that I don't like I think that you are, let's talk about that, like the let's we the and we're not big labelers of things, but sometimes when you're working on something, we talk about regulation and dysregulation.
That's exactly
So that it's,
right.
yeah, to give it a word like if you're gonna label things that aren't going to sort of pathologize people or give them a label that can't, for me, if you can get dysregulated, what does that mean? You can get regulated,
That's
correct?
exactly right. And
Right. You
and notice also we're talking about I'm pointing the finger at me, right? Like that's not
love it.
pathologizing someone else. That's, when you pathologize someone else, it's like, oh, I think you have a lot of problems, and here I am, like so above it all. Not such a nice look. But when he said to me, like, I don't want to be with this right now. I mean, I really don't want to be with this. And it landed. I'm like, oh, I get it. I thought what I was doing was being authentic and interesting, and in fact, I'm being just awful. And you don't want to be here. And I'm like, and it landed. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, the difference between, oh, so that's what emotional dysregulation looks like. Me, like, look in the dictionary under the words hot mess, right? We see that. And then me aware of that going like, ah, okay, so I'm simply not gonna lose. It doesn't mean I'm gonna be a robot or a Vulcan, right? I'm just gonna
Let
be
me interject something too here. This is a very different thing in this world when you give the special people in your life permission to coach.
true.
You gave him a blanket permission to coach. You are really close. I have very close people, although not a specific partner, but I believe that like my great friends and my family members that I'm, really, we have, and sometimes they'll even say in the midst of one of those moments, do I have permission to coach? And I'm like, yeah, but just a blanket permission to coach. This is not somebody walking around judging you off the street. This
Correct.
is a person who you said, I'm working on this. And this is something we are personally in our own ways working on regulation, dysregulation, we use the word. And so if someone's, saying, remember when you said that you wanted a little coaching on this? Here's one of those moments. That's very different than pathologizing someone you don't know and nobody asked your opinion on.
And I'll tell you, it was one step more visceral than that because it's like if you have a best friend who you're on the phone with, and then there's that moment where they're like, "Hey, like, I'm having an insight. If you're willing to hear it, permission to coach," and then I'm going to go in a little deeper than I would normally. What I mean by this was more visceral was that he was literally having a reaction to how I was being. Like it was like I saw that like the raw reaction he was having was just like I just don't want to be, you know what I mean? Like it's just like someone,
Sure.
like
Yeah.
someone cooked fish all afternoon and I walked in the door and the whole room smells like fish. And it's like, I'm gonna take a walk because I don't want to, you know what I mean? It's
Right.
thinking up the
And when
room
you've been
here.
soaking in it, when you've been soaking in the smell of fish all afternoon, you don't smell it
You
anymore.
don't smell it, right? Exactly. And or you might
Uh,
even think like, oh, I'm making dinner. It's such a good thing, like you have all
It's
these nice
not like walking
opportunities.
into the house and smelling it like the Italian
Cake.
sauce on
Someone
Sunday.
made a cake, right?
What I right? Like somebody, but like remember going to grandma's and like, on Sunday,
Right.
the smell of that sauce was
Oh,
heaven.
it was like, yeah, it was heaven, right?
Yeah, it was, it's not
Right.
the same thing as a
Right.
bacala on Christmas Eve,
And
where, you're
bacala,
a little
right?
kid.
Yes, yes. Delicious to taste, but you don't necessarily want to be in the house when they're cooking enough
No,
for like 20 relatives, right? Right.
no, not at all.
Oh, and
And
note to the people at home. Bacala, what's that? Bacala is what is it? Codfish, right? It's
I'm
cod.
not sure it's fish, but it was one of the fishes that we had on, that I avoided on as a little kid.
Oh yeah.
Christmas
Now
Eve was fish night,
yeah,
like
that's
for
right.
whatever reason. I don't know why Italians, why we did that, but we did.
Same. Right.
So I remember the name of it because I knew someone named their dog Bacala later on in life.
Oh, that's right. That's a great name.
Yeah, okay. So the point is that when someone is having a visceral reaction to our emotional dysregulation, what I think is even more interesting is, first of all, that's great that you sort of caught it and said, boom, we talked about changing directions very quickly in the last podcast. And now it's the idea of, can we catch it for ourselves, for our own happiness? And it is, and what I'm learning is that yes, you can. You can, the behaviors that we want to change about ourselves are things that we can learn to catch. It's we do a lot of people pleasing in life. What about self pleasing? Where it's like, this is something I don't feel comfortable when I'm acting like this. I don't like this behavior about myself. And then the flip side of there's like, what are the things that I do love about myself? I mean, if you get excited about something, that's not the same thing as dysregulation. And that can also, when you are chronically a certain way, like I had been in the past, or maybe, excitement for myself can sometimes seem like dysregulation, and excitement when for other people can sometimes see like, is she going to go off And when people you start to trust yourself that you're not going to do that after a while, and other people start to trust, if you get excited, is she going to keep going off that ledge and go, "Zoing,"
Right.
Wile E. Coyote, right down,
Right. Yes. Yes.
but we can catch it sooner by noticing that there's a difference between excitement and dysregulation, excitement and anxiety.
And figuring out where that line is. Like I said, like it wasn't nobody's asking you to be like, Mr. Spock, Vulcan, never emotionless, always logical.
No.
That's a false choice. It's a an all or nothing kind of thing. Like, and people could throw that someone who is a little bit ego invested without knowing in their dysregulation, where they're like, one minute they're happy, one minute they're sad, one minute they're angry, and it's all supposed to be a feature. It's all supposed to be part of their wonderful, elaborate makeup. And you say, like, if you toned it down, if you took it down from 11 to 6,
Hmm.
and had and then it's like, what do you mean? You're telling me to be different. Like, I'm not here to please other people. And it's sort of like, well, you're obviously not here to please other people because if you saw yourself, enough said, right? But
Right.
if this is like, nobody is saying that if you're not completely emotional and over the top every minute of every day, that, we're condemning you to being a Vulcan for the rest of your life. Like, no,
No.
nobody ever said that.
No,
There is
it
the
has something to be
sanity's
about
in
being
the middle.
appropriate.
Right. Sanity's in the middle.
Yeah, sanity in most things, the middle way, is the way to go. And the idea of change these days is, why should I change for him? And why should I do this for her? And why should I? And the thing is, like, don't, and see where that takes you. I've been down that road where I'm me and I'm not going to change because I thought to myself, all these people that are criticizing me. And I went down the road of sort of letting a lot of people go in my life. And they're thinking that that was, like, happiness is not having anybody in your life who doesn't accept you 100%. Guess how many people I had in my life?
There's zero
No,
to none.
zero to none. And then you start to realize, okay, so I always go back to the absence of bad things in your life is not happiness. Sometimes it can be relief especially if there's an abusive situation going on. An absence of a really bad situation in your life can lead to relief, and that's wonderful. But happiness is something different.
Yes.
Happiness is the addition of
Right.
good things into your life,
Yeah.
including your own behaviors. And I mean, this one gets people every time. We are responsible with people we care about for the emotions we elicit from them. And people are like trying to figure out that sentence.
No, I get that. If I hear that, if I hear like I remember, I think it was Oprah or somebody cool like that, possibly quoting somebody, but where she said, if it was Oprah,
Love
people
her.
don't remember what you said or what you did. They remember
Oh,
how they
yes,
felt about you and around you.
for
Right.
sure. That
Yeah.
was Oprah.
Right. And so what is it that's the emotions that you elicited from them. Right. So it doesn't matter if someone buys you a car and then says, well, you'll never be able to afford this, so that's why I bought it for you because you're kind of a failure and I'm trying to prop up your horrible life. I'll remember what I felt for a long time if someone gives me a car and gives me it with those words.
Right.
Right.
Right. And also it's like, now this wonderful gift is a symbol of your loserdom or what you feel like. I mean, I use that, like, thank you. Now every time I get into this car, I'm going to feel as if. And
Right.
we're when I hear people who say, well, I just, use that and, like, overcome, and it's like, I don't think that the answer to a lot in life is the hustle and the grind
Mhm.
to, like, sort of, use all this negativity to overcome. It's so hard to do, to say, I'm really going to use all this negativity and make myself better from it. I hope we can all do that. I really do. Like,
Enough negativity comes at you naturally. It's like you don't necessarily need to, like you could have a really great job with a boss who is great, coworkers, you like what you do, and then there's deadlines that are stressful, and it's just like, you're the best boss in the world comes to you and says like, this week is just going to be hell week. It's just like I'm looking down the line. We've got this, we've got that, we've got the, and it's like I just need everybody to really help me out. And we're just going to have long days and hard grind. And it's Monday. And if we get on Wednesday, if we all get lost and just, like someone's crying in the bathroom, like let's get back together and say like, this is finite. It's going to end. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but like the last thing you need at something like that is, people yelling and screaming at each other as like, what the hell's wrong with you? And you're not doing it right. Like, it's like trying to inject as much positive into a situation that simply is going to be tough and it can't be avoided. That's
Can't be avoided.
more than your
And
share.
when you said things are finite, at the end of the day, everything is.
It's all right, exactly.
It's
In
all
100 years,
finite.
will this matter? Hell, in 100 days, will this matter? Think about it. I mean, think about, I challenge anybody out listening or whatever, listening. In 100 days, will this matter? 100 days ago, what is this? This is like we're in September, right? Okay, so like August, July, June, and then and scroll back 10 days in June. Okay, around the first of the first day of summer, around that, right? Even before, just at the end of spring. Can you think of something that was really messing you up and how entirely irrelevant it is right now? Like,
And also how with these new skills that we're working on, regulation and self-regulation and incorporating people in our life that are on our team, creating your finding your tribe, creating your tribe and all that thing. There might have been, I mean, there were things on my plate in June that I say to myself, they're solved. I
right.
love the word solved. People's like, like, because everything is like, well, you never really fix anything, you just manage misery. And I'm like, I am not a fan of that belief system.
No,
Like, like if you say I'm gonna get a new job and you get one, that problem is solved
it
for
is. You have
now.
a
Maybe
new
you'll hate,
problem. You have a new, now
yeah,
I have to get
right.
up at 7 o'clock in the morning and schlep to, right. I was thinking when I like I didn't realize it when I spoke because I just kind of mentally went back in my brain. I'm like, okay, June 10th, roughly. Okay. June 10th. I got shoulder surgery like April 11th.
I forgot.
Well,
Forgot about that.
so did I. I mean, like when I do, like if, I can do, if I do, like there's movements, I can't even do them with this couch here, but like if I do like, ow, okay, that still feels a little like I have to watch that. But 2 months out from shoulder surgery, I mean, a month I was in, I was wearing a sling for a long time. I was going to
Yeah.
therapy. I was putting on a shirt was like, oh, I have to put on a shirt now. I have to brace myself for that. It's like, June 10th, I was coming off of that, like it was maybe 50% healed. And I was beginning to feel like, I wonder if this thing's ever going to be really better. And now, 100 days after that, I'm like, I never think about it. I mean, if I turn the wrong way, I'm like, ow, that okay, that still hurts a little bit. But like, please don't, don't send your dollars to me, like send them to people who really need, what I'm saying, right? Like
Right. Right.
like that is
Don't cry
not,
for me,
and that's
Argentina. I'm like, I'm okay.
that was surgery. That was like, it was, like that was surgery. It was not a minor thing. It was a costly thing. It was a time consuming thing. It was a painful thing at the time. And now cut to, like I don't even remember most of that except if I like go back and kind of retrieve it.
And that's the thing is that the habit is to regurgitate those memories. And like we've talked about like the difference between coaching and therapy and there's benefits absolutely to both, like therapy is sort of like the analogous thing would be like like as you're getting out of shoulder surgery, you're going into, you first, you hurt your shoulder, triage, then you go in to get surgery, and that's the surgery, and then you come out of it and you go
Recovery,
into
right? You're in bed
recovery,
recovering and right.
and then you
Exactly.
go into, like working with a, and all of these stages along the way, and then we kind of get into the land, like let's say therapy is like somewhere in the past triage, past whatever. It's sort of like healing, and you have to feel the pain of working it out, emotionally working things out. And then coaching comes along and it's somewhere where you're sort of looking more towards the future, and trying to put those memories down a bit, not all the time, but a bit, to where what are we creating and how do we create in the future? And I've just had a weird like little thing happen this week, because I'm moving. I'm living in Philadelphia right now, and I'm moving to the Jersey Shore, which is home to me. Like as we say, there's no place like home. I don't have my magic wand near me this week, but being my favorite movie, The Wizard of Oz, it took me a long circuit. And you've moved back, even though you travel most of the time in Southeast Asia, I
Right.
would say,
I'm
but
in
it,
Japan now, but I'm going to be back in a week. So yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And the thing about it is that when we're going through a lot of trauma and drama, emotionally or physically, we get disconnected from what it is that we love to do, love to spend our time doing. Because if you're spending, a few months recuperating, you're not just going and enjoying the gym, you're going with a purpose, and that's great. But when, this year has been quite the year of change for me. And a lot of what we do when we're really making those intentional changes, I'm going to, bring down my, you know, create the emotional regulation, create the, stop the reactions that would dysregulate me. I had found that I thought to myself, what is it like? I have sort of disconnected also from things that generally make me happy. Like I stopped listening to a lot of music, not intentionally,
You didn't
just
realize it
happened.
happened. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Because when you're emotionally dysregulated, what you're doing is instead of doing the things that bring you happiness, which is what I think part of what coaching is sort of taking some time to say, what gets me back to happiness? Right, that's what we're talking about here. Like we're riding through, a horse with no name, right? For people who the song from the 70s, uh right, and we're going, and all of a sudden we fall off the happiness horse, and we're in a place where you're getting shoulder surgery, or you fall out with a friend, or you decide to make a big change in your life, and you're working on that, and then to start to regulate again. What are some of the tools? And what I think, this got me. Okay, so you see this notebook right here. Okay, people who know
Oh, I
me know
love
I
it.
love.
Why would
Okay,
it not be blue and sparkly? What was I
right.
possibly
Okay,
thinking?
but it made me think about it, because it's not. There's a piece of blue sparkly contact paper I added to this. It's because I have tons of notebooks, and I just bought a big roll of blue sparkly contact paper, and I add. Oh, I every time I open a new one, I add a different color sparkly paper to it. So, and I was so enjoying myself, and I thought, I love making things beautiful. Now, most people, like, it doesn't matter what you love. I love music. I had sort of, people have routines where because now I'm driving again. I was living in New York City, don't need a car. Living in Philadelphia, don't need a car. Need a car. Move back to New Jersey. When is the only time that I would really, really listen to music? It's in my car.
I never thought of that. So if you had a habit of living, especially like if we're rolling back, like I mean, you were in New York for a bunch of years. You were in Philly for two. You were in New York for like 7 or 8. We're rolling
Yeah.
back to a whole 2015 was like a whole other world with music. Like it might have been for you pre-Spotify,
Pre Spotify for
like I mean, kind
sure.
of like like put on a
Pandora was
CD or
like
yeah,
was like
brand new,
a
like the new,
revelation.
yeah.
Was a revelation. And so, but also because years ago I was a singer, we were in a band together, and I would do all my practicing in the car while driving, because I drove hours every day for my jobs every day. And I thought to myself, when we've learned how to, we hope, eliminate certain things from our life to create regulation. But also on like that, I became sort of an expert at removal, 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 removal. The, trash, move the trash out of your life, move the bad things out, move the bad things out. And then we don't always notice we have a very empty space, a vacuum. And you know how they say nature dislikes a vacuum.
Yeah.
So if you don't intentionally put the good things in,
Yeah,
what do you think winds up?
we talked about the conveyor belt, right? That's coming at you anyway.
Yes.
Like, so that's it.
Right.
That's exactly it. When the like what's going to be there? The conveyor belt is already full of bills and, you know, uh, getting sick and, like getting older and like the things we
Right.
want, right? Like the things we don't want, even just like getting up and schlepping to work in the morning, right? That's like, well,
Right.
if I had, $10 million in the bank, I might not get up at 7 o'clock on a rainy morning and schlep into an office.
Right. But
Yeah.
also like what I realized is that a lot of simple things left my life, because when you remove certain things, other things go. Like I didn't realize that coffee had left my life.
Oh, I would have definitely noticed that, but tell me more.
Well, the funny thing about it is I lived in Manhattan for so long, and part of my routine to get me going was I walked to Starbucks. And then when I moved to Philadelphia, it's just not, I don't know, you just sort of don't do that like the way that New Yorkers do that. You get up, you're getting ready for the subway, you get your Starbucks, and I thought to myself one day, like the morning is just missing something. I wonder what this thing is. So I bought a Keurig, and I'm like, I just make a cup of coffee in the morning. But like, and you were the kind of the inspiration for that because you think to yourself, well, who cares if you don't have coffee in the morning? When I hear you talk about your morning coffee, it sounds like
I
a spiritual
care.
experience.
I care. I care.
I
The
know,
question
but
of it's like,
it's
oh,
like
I
a
guess I'll
spiritual
not have
experience for
coffee
you.
today. Yeah, it really like I can say that I've enjoyed every cup of coffee I've ever had in my entire life. I mean, it's like maybe there's those two or three that were like really awful coffee that I needed to just chug down because I knew that I wasn't going to function and it was nothing, but 98% of those coffees, they were
Mhm.
good. And I'm glad I had
Right.
every one of them.
Right. So the funny thing about this is that when when something goes missing in your life and you are especially working on removal of things out of your life, you're removing a lot of things. For me, when I stopped driving because I moved to the city, who needs a car to Manhattan, which I was there for almost 10 years. And but moving to Philly had its problems because of the fact that it's not exactly like Manhattan, where I got up and went out. I'm working from home now as a life coach, and I didn't go to an office the way I did in Manhattan. So you don't get, and all of a sudden, so why did this notebook, what did it do? What did it remind me of? It was sort of the idea that what are the little things that make us us, that make us happy in ways we've never really thought of. And it was what it was a creative act. Like I was looking at this ugly notebook with all the writing on the front of it, just I bought a box of I buy the spiral notebooks but in a box from Amazon, like when they run out. And I originally bought, the sparkly paper to put on them. And it used to be a part of my routine. And why that creative act of covering this notebook? It's the things that matter to no one else but you that sow the seeds of the fabric of happiness in our life. Nobody knows when I get in the car that I am singing as loudly as possible for the entire journey. And it's been years since I've had a car, and I just got a new car, and not a new car, but I got a car new to me. Let's put it that way. And all of a sudden, I'm singing off key because I'm haven't practiced in a long time. And then 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 drives later, I'm singing and I'm starting to remember myself
Boy,
Just the
that's
way
a
when I took a piece of contact paper on a sticky thing, I'm like, I remember something about myself.
that's a
Creativity and beauty is important to
that's a
me.
beautiful. I really want to like put a pin in it there because I remember for myself years ago, um, from getting out of a difficult relationship. I won't say how many years ago, but it was a tough one. And I remember that after a long time of, you know what it's like when you're in a, when you're
I
trying to salvage
do.
a relationship, you're like, you're fighting over a donut. You get to the place where you're fighting over which bathroom do we put the plunger in? Like there's no fight is too small to ruin your morning, right? It's like
True.
no fight left behind. So, and then, finally I was just like, I'm deciding I'm not doing this. I'm gonna,
You're done.
I'm done, move out. And then like there's that silence. Like wake up in
Yeah.
the morning and like doesn't matter where the plunger is, doesn't matter what kind of donut you get,
No.
it doesn't matter what kind of bagel you get, it doesn't matter what, if take the side road or take this road or like it's like all this doesn't matter. And I'm like, wow, this silence is golden. This is
For a
golden
while.
silence for a while. You're right. It's the relief that isn't meant to last.
Right.
But suddenly you see there's clearing and you actually
Yes.
notice it. And once you notice it, then it's like, okay, if you can now fill this with good things actively before all the what
Actively.
actively,
Because what
proactively.
happens is that when you, for me, being a 4 on the Enneagram, we're going to get into the Enneagram someday, but look it up, it's fun. Um, is that self-generating misery. There are certain types of unhappiness that are necessary, grief.
Right.
You break up with relationship ends. I mean, this is a normal part of the healing process. No one is saying don't go through it. And and sometimes we have to remove something, and that leaves wide open field. And again, we're riding through the field on the horse, and we're off the horse, and sometimes we can't find the happiness horse. Like, well, I don't know where I'm coming up with this, but anyway, the thing about it is that sooner or later there's a moment where it starts to go away, and either we hook back into the misery, not necessarily on purpose, or we find someone helps us to remember who we are. And it can be a therapist, it could be a friend, it could be a brother, it could be a sister, it could be a family member, whoever. Or it could be the simple act of when I bought a car and sat in the seat. I've been in a passenger seat a lot of times in the past 15 years, and driven very few times. I sat in the seat of the car, and it was like I forgot the feeling of being alone in a car.
Hmm.
And I forgot the feeling of having control of the music. And
Right.
all of a sudden, this breath of life came back in me. And I thought, not only do I miss driving, this is fun, like, oh, I get to go wherever I want to go, but there's just something that reminds you of who you are. And it could be for you. I was like, what's missing from my morning? And you talk about your coffee, as if it's a friend, like
It,
you have a special
and
French press.
it sounds like you think there's something wrong with that. It's it's a friend. It's okay. Go on.
It
I'm
is a friend, and it is okay.
friend.
It's
It's my
actually
good
nice
friend.
to hear.
Yes,
It's
yes,
your
yes.
good friend coffee.
Hmm.
But what happens is it prompted me to buy Keurig. Like you have French press. I think I introduced you to the French press, and like then I thought I was, oh, you're much more into the whole experience of it, and I'm like, give me the coffee. So the point is that you find your way with something, and you start placing into your life intentionally the things. And when, like I said, with the notebook, what was weird about, like, what's so great about putting a contact paper on a notebook, it's like the act of creating something for no reason other than the pleasure that it gives you.
That's
like
great.
something that's not hurting anybody else. It's not, nobody would even notice. Somebody would walk
I
in and say,
noticed, but but it like it when I saw it, you brought it, and I was like the first thing I noticed was, of course, it's blue and sparkly, like what, what like the stuff you love. I'm glad you took the time to give yourself that.
right. And there's so much more that we have to give ourselves. And if we do that, we spend the time in the moment when we go through the time where it's sort of like the unhappiness is warranted, grief is warranted, it's necessary, it's a process we go through. And then on the other side of grief, I'm talking about like the ending of a relationship. There's other many times of grief of death, someone dies. I'm not talking about that in this red hot moment, but there's a moment where you're ready to move on. Maybe you want to meet somebody, and you can loop back into that unhappiness because you get what I'm saying? It becomes there is a comfort in discomfort.
That there is. Yes.
Like our inner critic is like, you know, you're never going to meet anybody as good again, or why did you walk away from that, or they were really bad for you, or
You know,
maybe
deserve to
there's
do
nobody
better
out there.
anyway. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hmm.
All those things, and there's the other way is sort of like, okay, I've been looking over here, and my inner critic, we're commiserating, and now, ooh, where's that moment? And something very simple can remind you, or a conscious effort to say, is it the moment for me to sort of regulate again and get back to like, where is my center of gravity? Where do my thoughts and my emotions kind of line up where I can start moving more towards happiness intentionally?
Right.
And how do
Right.
we get there? How do we get back to happiness? It's again, we've removed a lot of things, but what are we putting in there?
Right. Yeah, and
What are we putting in there?
the thing I'm thinking about, it's funny, I'm thinking about this in terms of making and breaking habits. And
Mm,
generally speaking, breaking habits is harder than making them on one level. So if think about it. If I said to you, which would be harder? Like, um, giving up a food that you eat, like for me, giving up coffee, right? What I would be obviously would like giving something up that you do every day and that you've decided you want to get rid of. It's much harder than adding something in.
I
And
disagree.
that's weird. Okay, so I'll make my case. It's like if I decide that I want to, let's say I'm going to do 100 push-ups every morning. I'm going to do 100 push-ups every day, okay? It doesn't matter when. What I can do is when I wake up, I can say, all right, let's just begin. Like, even if it's like 10 now, another 10, another 15, another whatever, like punch them out. Okay. By 10 o'clock in the morning, I could be done. And then it's like, now I'm there. Whereas I was gonna say quitting something that you like, whether it's biting your nails or coffee or whatever, not getting angry on the road, it's like it requires monitoring all day, or like all of a sudden you just find yourself at Starbucks with a cup in your hand and how did this happen,
Right. But I love the difference of this because this is life itself. This is this is one of the best moments for me ever because I always say to people, there's no right and wrong, there's right for you and wrong for you when it comes to your personality. Now, for me, removal of things out of my life, I'm an expert. Adding things in is like nails on a blackboard for me.
Interesting. Okay.
It's so hard. Like for me, people have, when I've been on different weight loss journeys in my life, and you've said to me, I've never seen anybody give up. Like I stopped eating sugar 25 years ago. No, now it's like 40 years ago, a long time ago. So I'm saying, I used to, I think it was 5 years ago, it was 10 years ago. So
If
now
you
it's
wait long enough, it's gonna be long. Yeah, exactly. Right.
40 years ago, I gave up eating regular processed sugar.
Yeah.
And it was a thought, and then it was done the next day, and I never looked back. And you were like, I was, and now I've even softened it on the and said, "Look, if I'm at a wedding and there's a cake and it's like I don't want to be rude, I have a bite of cake,
Right.
right?
Yes, I've seen that. I've been like,
Yeah,
like yeah, like Christmas. Oh, there's tiramisu. Okay, like not.
one bite.
It's not gonna.
Yeah.
And you do one bite. It's amazing. You do one bite, and you're like, and then people are like, oh, have another, and it's like, no, I had my bite. I had my bite. That was it.
Right. And
Oh, that's
also, what's interesting about that, we talked about this years ago, is that when you're trying to change habits, and this is what I have found, your mileage may vary, as you say, but we live in we grew up in an Italian family where it's sort of an insult to not eat the whole meal, right?
yes,
So if you would to if someone offers me something and it's not a holiday and it's not a special occasion, and I've just given up sugar. I was vegan for a long time, and not anymore, but I was for a long time, and people would be the food police around me. And if I said to them, I'm vegan, I don't eat that, we would have a discussion. If I said, I just don't like that. And so I started saying when I was in my 20s and when I was a teen, no, I'm just kidding, my 40 years ago, when I was younger, I would start saying, I'm not a sweets person. I'm
right.
just not a
That's
sweets
acceptable.
person.
That's
And that
acceptable.
became so true. I lived into that. That's where coaching comes in. It's like, it was true. I'm not a sweets person. People might say, oh, she doesn't like sweets. I just said I'm not a sweets person. What I meant was, I'm not a sweets person because I'm choosing not to eat sweets. But people don't question that. They won't question your preferences, but they'll question your more like your intentions. Think
Yes.
about that. If you say to somebody, um, I have friends, almost none of my friends drink.
Right.
They're mostly athletes. They do things like, and every single one of them is people, they said if someone offers them a drink, they'll say, no, no, thank you. I don't want that. And someone will say, oh, you don't drink. And they're like, sure, whatever. Like if somebody feels like they understand the reason, if you say, I don't like drinking,
Right.
it's a conversation. It's a moral conversation, and
Right.
people don't like that. So this is like how we modulate adding things into our lives or removing them. For me, removal is easier,
Interesting.
but I think yours is a happier thing. I would trade places with you in a minute.
You know what I was gonna at the beginning of it, I realized what I was gonna say was so at the outset, it's easier to give I mean, okay, blanket statement, and it's not true for you, but blanket statement, easier to give things up for the reason I said, because you could I mean, excuse me, easier to put things in than to give things up because you're always monitoring all day long, you have to monitor. But putting things in takes creativity. In other words,
Which is hard for me.
to erase, it's very, like
Right.
you could take the world's greatest novel and erase it. Anybody could erase, right? Or
I agree.
burn it down. Anybody could do that, but it takes a long time to write one. And so like you're noticing like I'm missing music. And you know what I'm thinking of? It's kind of weird. Movie Groundhog Day. There's a moment in the movie. Yeah, I don't go into the everybody knows kind of the basic plot where he's experiencing the same day over and over again. And with each day in a sense moving a little bit higher, a little bit higher. He's sitting in a diner that he's sat in probably for the last 10 years because we don't even know how long this thing is. And he hears music on the radio or on the whatever it is, stereo. And it's like
Hmm.
piano concerto or something, or Chopin or who knows what it is.
Oh, I remember that
And
scene.
he
He was
just
actually in a
up and
bar.
he's like all of a sudden like you could see on his face, he's just like, oh, I never actually heard that before. Like, you could what's going on in his face is like, oh, that's new because I'm experiencing it. And then the next thing he does is go and starts piano lessons, right? Because he decides to
Right.
do that. And it's because he's probably been in that diner every day and it's taken that long for it to
And also, did
tip
you remember the
over
plot
into
twist and why he did that?
no.
Because when earlier in the movie, this is how life works. Earlier in the movie, when he was trying to get Andy McDowell
Hmm.
he said, "Who's your perfect man?"
Oh, that's right. And
And
he
she
plays
said,
an
"My perfect
instrument.
man plays an instrument."
That's right.
And he was like, "Wow, that's going to be a tough one."
Hmm.
Because,
I'm gonna
but
have to
then
actually
like,
do something. Right.
right. But he, I mean, he had to do a lot of things. But that moment in the movie was life is always offering you, like, I think what's the beauty of that movie is that it's okay to want what you want,
Yeah.
but you're going to have to do some work to get it, like,
Uh-huh.
and no, by the end of the movie, what's so great about it is that whether he got her or not, he had resigned himself to the fact that he's going to live a happy life even if it's the same day over and over again. And
Right.
my one of my favorite scenes from that movie is when they're sitting in the bowling alley. And it's like, what would you do if you woke up every day in the same place and nothing was ever changed and things were miserable, and the two guys sitting at the bar with them with beer are like, yeah, sounds about right, that's about it,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Right.
and the thing is, in some ways
Most
we
people's
wake
lives.
up
Right. Most
most
people's
people's
lives.
lives,
Right.
when
But how do you
you
flip
wake
that
up,
pancake, as you will say? How do you
how would you flip
go,
that
how do you
pancake?
go from, like living the life of quiet desperation? I don't know who, some poet
Oh
said,
yeah, yeah.
right.
Walt Whitman. I don't
It
know,
might
Walt
have
Whitman.
been, it's could have been,
Thoreau.
you're probably in the ballpark because they would both
Okay,
said that, right? Emerson, one of those.
Emerson.
It might have
Okay,
been, like short list of
somebody
short
comment.
list
It's
of
okay,
American poets who weren't having that life, right? Who weren't living it.
right? But the thing is, like, waking from so for me, adding things in. I'll tell you why adding things in is hard for me, because I think that there's people out there that can probably relate to this. Adding things in, if because if I didn't add it in that day, I'm a failure.
Hmm.
Removing something is, for me, removing something, like you said, is the easy sort of the easy, you can erase something. I don't have to dig
Creative.
deep for creativity. And for you as a 7 on the Enneagram, and we're like, go look that up. Creativity is the you're naturally bent that way. You're naturally born. Creative ideas are coming out of your ears, your eyes, your nose. You're overflowing the creative
For
ideas.
for
Where for me, I'm narrow focused
yeah.
on one creative thing, and that doesn't serve me all the time.
Mhm.
Doesn't serve me
Right.
often.
I mean, it's like the like, and there's a lot of, I'm like the seven, a classic seven that people will know is Anti-Mame. Anti-Mame. Think about,
Oh yeah, well, that's a
yeah, I
little
mean, that's
generation
yeah.
behind us, but
Right. Okay. So, like, again, like, look up Anti-Mame if whatever. But
yeah,
there were several movies. One had Rosalind Russell, and that's the one you want to see. And then there was another with Lucille Ball, and that was acceptable. And this is like the gay street cred coming in. It's like, no, no, no.
yeah.
See the Rosalind Russell version, please. See
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga. Oh, did Lady Gaga do? Like, no, did she do
No,
anti
I'm saying just like
No.
over the top and
Over the
like
top.
just
Yeah, yeah.
like
I don't know
and
what her,
fabulosity. I
but
don't know if
like
she's a 7 or not, but I'm saying she's fabulous.
Mame's
Creative.
her credo was like, well, I believe she's the one who said life's a banquet and most poor SOBs are starving to death. I think that's
Right.
her line, right? And
Right.
right, and that would be a seven would be like life is a banquet, and like why are you not like why
Life
are
is a
you
banquet.
starving? Right? Why are you starving?
Right. And
Like
and for
the seven has to try to not eat everything at the table and then fall down, right? So then we all have a challenge, right? Okay. Don't eat
but the
everything.
thing about is who you are is a great who everybody is a great thing. And I like the fact that this is two sides of that pancake, right? And there's no wrong or right in either one of them, but there is a struggle in both of them.
Correct. And the struggle is two people going in different directions. Like there's a great cartoon, I can't remember who drew it. But it shows two, like you could see they're two pilgrims or wise men, and they're both
Hmm.
going up the same hill, and there's a sign pointing, and on both sides, a sign pointing Nirvana, right? Or enlightenment, something like that. And so both of them are like trudging up the hill. And like you just, what's unspoken is what happens when they meet at the top is I'm going this way. No, I'm going this way. No, Nirvana. You're like, it's that way, right?
Right. And
Both are
that's the
true.
thing.
Both are true.
Both are true. And like for me, adding things into my life is difficult. For you, subtracting things is more difficult. But they're exactly the same as far as both have to be done to create a world of happiness. We have
Yes.
to remove things from our life and we
Yes.
have to add things to our life. And happiness is not is about that balance.
Hmm.
Happiness is about that balance and getting for me it was a revelation that I could add things into my life. And I don't know why it's taken me so long cuz to think about things that way, but
Hmm.
it has, and it doesn't matter when sanity shows up, as long as it
As long as
shows
it
up,
shows up.
as long as it shows up, it's like it sort of arrives and it's like, huh. So if every day I if I'm not driving every day now, but if I get up in the morning and someone said this to me recently, well, why don't you just get up in the morning and turn on the music? And I was like, well, that would make a lot of sense.
I will
So
say,
now
I
I
will,
do that.
one of my friend Michael, if he's watching, my friend Michael wakes up in the morning every day, and I will say of all my friends, and my friends have pretty open, eclectic tastes, and I think pretty good taste, really cool music from a lot of
Oh
places.
yeah.
Um, Michael has the most far-reaching and eclectic taste. Like if he put on like a Hungarian love ballad, if he is like, oh, what are you listening to? It's like, oh, it's a Brazilian song from the 1930s. I'm like, sure, like that would be entirely in the realm. But in the morning, he puts on wonderful morning music. Like it's obviously not a Sousa marching band. It's like, you just put something on and it's just like, like what you want to wake up to. And he does it every morning when I stay over, in San Francisco with him. And then I usually wake up a little earlier than him, and then he wakes up, and it's like I hear the coffee pot go on because he's like me in that way, and then
Yeah.
the music go on, and it's like, it's just I do want to wake up to this. It's lovely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And if you, and the thing is that if we walk around thinking, collecting these beautiful little things, and I'm also a big fan of, especially in my coaching, of saying to people, what always makes you happy, but is always a pain in the ass to do. And for me, it's like, if I make my bed, every single time I make my bed, I feel better. And if you ask me when my bed is unmade, if I'm going to feel better if I make my bed, I'm like, I know I'm going to feel better if I make my bed. And it's like, and one time and there's another thing. It's like, if I take a shower, always feel better. So I used to, because adding things in, right? Making one's bed is adding something in. And I do it every day, whether I like it or not. Because one time I started to say to myself, adding things into my life, this is because I'm a life coach, I'm thinking about this. So adding things into my life is more difficult than removing something. So I thought to myself, now I have 9 pillows on my
Yes.
bed.
Okay.
And I've always been a
Are
person
those
that
them? Those are them, or are there more?
those be them. That's the bed behind me.
Those be them? Okay, I didn't
So
know that. I know
yeah.
that. Okay, that's amazing.
Well, I have it as a it's a pseudo couch. I
Like a
have a
day bed.
couch. I live in a like, and my couch is over there, and the bed is this just happens to be a bed with a beautiful
I knew
mirror.
it was boudoir-esque, but I didn't know it was an actual boudoir.
Yes, and it's not the bed facing this way. I turned the bed this way, so
Oh,
it's a day bed.
okay, that makes sense. Okay, it's all clear.
But I
Oh,
don't use it as a couch. I don't sit on it. Once I so there's a reason. There's a method and the reason for this. Okay, so so I in my mind would complain. I know I'm going to feel better if I make the bed, and there's pillows all over the floor, so I have to make the bed. But I said to myself, let's test a theory because I want to pass it on to my clients. I put a timer on. I said, how long does it take me to make my bed perfectly? Because I'm a neat, I mean, I don't want to call myself, on the verge of OCD, with a tendency, because my therapist has said to me, do not call yourself that. So I make it, I want everything tucked. I want it the everything right. in like, if I had a measuring tape, I would measure where the pillows go, which I don't. Do you know how long it takes me to make this bed?
Tell me.
1.5 minutes
Amazing. But
with nine
you
pillows.
so you could spend half the day agonizing over spending the minute and a half. Right.
Minute and a half. People are like, how can that be? Because I'm like, all the covers come up in 60 seconds. I'm also really a non, people like thrash in their sleep. I sleep like a corpse,
I'm
literally like a corpse. I mean, I get up and my bed looks made already
a
by
thrasher.
pulling down.
I'm a
You're
thrasher.
a thrash.
Yeah.
Like people have things on the floor. And also at night, I line up my pillows in order because of my way I think. So they go on in the order they went off. So it's not like I'm searching for a pillow around the room. Okay.
Because
And
they're
so
all on
I'm
the floor
literally,
next to the bed. Right.
and they're lined up. So it's 1.5 minutes. So the second thing is that taking a shower and doing one's hair. So, for a woman,
Takes a little
could be
longer for your hair than mine, I'm sure.
right. But I'm just saying, just the shower part, it's like, oh, you gotta take a shower. And then I have these complaints. And then I said, I'm going to time how long it takes me to get in and out of the shower and dress, not hair done or anything. 6 minutes.
Amazing. Amazing.
I mean, a lot of people love to luxuriate in the shower. My thing is enjoy that if you like it. Mine is get in and get it done. Hair wash, hair conditioner, blah, 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 6 minutes in and out. And I was like, when I was like between 6 and 8 minutes to be fully clothed.
Right. Well, that's amazing. That's
But
yeah.
do you understand that, like, if you can start quantifying some of these things that we are complaining about.
It makes perfect sense. Like
eh,
I know that it takes me like if I want to do like because I have to say like when you said the thing about the thing that you know that makes you feel better that you complain about, I'm like the first thing it's like you hit me in the face was exercise. Like because when I exercise, I feel better. And
every time. Me
and
too.
but I can but I oh I don't want to do it now. I'm just like I'm in a rush. I don't want to do it now. I'm like tired. I don't want to do it now. I gotta get work done. I don't want to do it now. Like I could go for days and make
But
this.
also, don't you notice if you let it go past a certain point in the day, you're just too tired.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So and then it's like, oh, I'm too tired. I'll do it tomorrow. It's like, okay, well now we've got the whole system down.
Now we're in a shame spiral.
Now, absolutely, positively. And meanwhile, it's like
Mm.
if but how long so what I started doing was and I got a little bit out of this habit because I have a scale I carry like among the many things I carry with me everywhere I go is a scale like I have it I mean I literally here like, why not here's my scale I carry it with me okay it's right now the batteries went out so I don't know like I have to fix it but whatever so I'm coming home in 2 days and my ritual is in the morning, I have to do some exercise. I have there's a certain superstition I have about this. It's like
Yeah.
I do exercise before stepping on the scale. The universe will be merciful when I
Yes.
step on the scale, right? It's sort of like I'm in the universe where I actually did something rather than I actually didn't do. So,
I
but
believe that, by the way. Trust
I
me.
like whether I believe it or not, it's like it's unverifiable because it's like you can't prove a counterfactual, right? So whichever one you
Right.
do, you're going to be in the universe where you did that, and you can't go back to the university. So yeah, but um, at any rate, it does get me to do. I'll literally do like a minute of exercise, like, but the minute will be like 50 push-ups. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
50 push-ups is respectable. Like especially now, now I'm coming down off the shoulder thing. Trying to get back what muscle mass I once had I'm trying to get it back.
And you've only, Mark, and I know you've been exercising for years. For me, and that's what I'm trying to say is like, what are a lot of the podcasts that we talk about are very, esoteric sort of. And this one it's sort of like, for me also, it's about style creates substance.
Yes.
Okay. Which is interesting because it seems that that would be the opposite. So I have found that when I started to really work on exercising, I we always look to other people and what they do as a guide. If you're not new, if you're new to something, like hire a personal trainer, do this. For me, like I never could exercise consistently until I realized that I am so private this way that I don't want people to watch me while I'm exercising. So the greatest, like most expensive piece of workout thing I bought was a yoga mat.
That's brilliant.
And I
That's a $10
working
item,
out
10, $15
working
max,
out at
right?
home
Yeah.
changed. I realized that accepting my style, my pride, the fact that I'm very private. I don't want to work out in a gym. I don't want I don't, I do love swimming, but I don't like the act of driving there, putting on a bathing suit, taking off a sloppy wet bathing suit, getting, all these things. And for some reason, for me, timing things makes it palatable. I'm going to do this for this amount of time, this amount of time, and then I know there's an end in sight. So you've got to get your style. Like, what's your style? First of all, like for me, part of the reason why I picked the things like making the bed to make that always make me feel better is some very, very, very organized. So if you're not, if your thing is if you get 50 push-ups before you even step on the scale in the morning, that's
Right.
your style.
That's my style. Right.
I mean, I've seen you do push-ups in between clients, and I'm like, what are you doing? And you're like, getting it in,
It's a minute.
getting it done.
It's 1 minute. And it's, the thing is, once you get I mean, I was doing like, 200, 300 push-ups a day at one point just because I was in the mode of it. I was in, you know what I mean? And, like I know that that's a lot. And I'm not doing it now. I mean, I had a shoulder injury or whatever, but like, but,
Sure.
but I know that I can do like, if I gave if someone either said, I'll give you $100 if you get back to doing 300 push-ups a day in a week, I could do that. And then you say to yourself, well, you'll do, why, what, the $100 isn't going to make that much difference in your life. The health might, the commitment, following through on that commitment might, like, Mark, did you feel better about life and the way you look and the way you felt when you were doing 300 push-ups a day? And by extension, if you're doing 300 push-ups a day, you're also, by the way, I've got dumbbells in my room. I've got a place to,
Me
I've
too.
got, crunches. I've got, a bunch of stuff. It's like the answer is, of course I did. Right. And then you fall away from it. You kind of just fall away from it. You go, oh, fine without it. And then
And I
no.
sort of try to say to myself and to other people that there is an ebb and a flow to everything, and that we are going to fall off this horse. That's why we're going to fall off the horse, the happiness horse, many times. And that's why it's so important. How do we get back to it? It's like when we when we stop doing something we wish we were doing every day, the automatic reaction is I'm bad, bad Tammy, bad girl, And the thing is to shorten the length of time when you hear yourself say one bad girl, that's first of all, it's your inner critic. And we can stop after one time that we hear it, or we can milk it because it keeps us from doing the thing we want to do. And we can, but on the other side of what I love about Esther Hicks, you said milk the good things. Like, 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 okay, one day is not bad, 2 days isn't that bad. Like you're gonna be so it's slowing this down, and it's getting us to the point where, but again, like all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So we have to balance this constant need for, hustle, grind, self improvement for some adding in joy for its own sake. There's no reason in the world for music other than joy.
Good point.
I mean, someone we talked about this last. Someone said, some famous person said, anything beyond food, clothing, and shelter is art, and life is an
Look at
art.
it. Right. Life itself
Like,
is art. Friendship is art.
for me,
Right.
design is art. Uh, Relationships are art. food is an art. Eating in a beautiful way. I mean, you could eat, like that horror movie, the Soylent Green. I know it's
Look it up.
beautiful. I know, yeah, it's like yeah.
No spoilers,
Um,
but look it up.
no spoilers, but the thing is, the way that we do things, that's why I say style creates substance. If you say, if I was just like somebody said, just make the bed and all the pillows are thrown up, I wouldn't have that feeling of, oh, that was a good thing, right? Because the style is like, if I'm gonna do this work, I want it to look the way I want it to look. I want to feel the feeling of the exuberance of that, right?
Right.
Where someone else, it makes no difference to them. Don't say my style is important. Tammy's style. It's your style. If your thing is that you throw the blanket on the bed and you throw the two pillows on it, you feel good about it. Good on you. You're done. You're
Right.
done, and you feel, and it's not your thing. But
Right.
what is your thing?
That's the thing. Right.
What is your
That's
thing? What do
exactly.
you love?
Years ago, a friend, Tom Clark, a good, good friend who's gone, if you can believe that he is gone now 30 years. That's quite a long time.
Yeah, he
Very,
passed away
very,
young.
very close friend and someone who I cared about very much. And but I like he lived a more younger than me. He lived a more intentional life when I was still just trying to figure out life and kind of get out from under a whole lot of weird traumatic stuff and just bad decisions and whatever. He was already onto his life. And
That's great.
he moved to Europe early and eventually,
Wow, I never
yeah,
knew
he
that.
did. He lived in France for a while, then he moved to the Netherlands, and I finally met up with him in Amsterdam and we had a great time. So that was like about a year before he passed away. So I felt very blessed that I was able to see him within a year of the time, roughly a year of the time when he died. But so what was I going to say? He said one time that I'll never forget that he was talking with a friend and about some decisions, and he said, "That's not the way that I rule my life."
Hmm.
And it just stuck with me because it's like, because I looked at it, I like it was like a piece to a jigsaw puzzle that I didn't have any other pieces like
I
that.
don't have the pieces, so give me
Right.
more about
That's
that.
not how I rule my, he says, that's not how I rule my life. And it's like, it was a piece to a puzzle. And the reason I say I didn't have the rest of it is because it's like, oh, does one rule one's life or does one's life rule them? Like
That's
I,
what I was thinking.
at the time, like life was like a steamroller that was, I was barely, and I look back and say, oh, it's closer than I thought. Like that, like, if life is a steamroller coming at you at a certain pace, it's like you're just like trying to stay one step ahead of it. I don't run my life. My life is running me. And
Hmm.
it was only I don't even know when it was like, that things started to turn around for me when I started saying like, oh, I don't do things that way. Like I don't
Oh,
treat, like I don't want to treat someone that way. I don't want to take money for doing that. I don't want like, and it's like, oh, that's what that meant. This is how I rule my life. It's like if I rule my life by like, I do 50 push-ups in the morning, it's like, it's a good thing, and
and
that's
that's
my
again
style.
style. Your
Style.
style is creating your substance.
Right.
Your style is, I like that one where I don't take money for this. This is not. And the thing is, like on your first job, if you get, my one of my first jobs was working. Well, first job was a babysitter, and it's like, I take money for that because at 12, that's what you get at 12.
Yeah.
At this age, it's like, what is it that we are willing to take money for and not take money for? But that, you know, people always say, substance over style, and I say, well, how do you really create substance is by knowing who you are, and also what are necessity sometimes creates our life in a style in of which we do not enjoy. Like, my life over the course of time created me in living in a situation where I am all alone.
Right.
But my style is that I'm an introvert, but I'm not a person who likes to be alone all the time. There's that those two don't are not the same thing at all. Being
No.
an introvert and being alone all the time.
Right.
Life created because of different people getting ill and moving out of my life. You know, all of a sudden you realize, what is your style? It's like my style is spending time with one or two really great, significant people a lot of the time, friends, family, whatever that is. Like your style is to spend time with a partner, and a lot of the time your style. Some people's style is something where they want to go to a rave where they don't know anybody,
One of
and
the
it's just like they're free there.
one of the
Not
things
me.
that I've found coming out of my mouth a lot in the last couple of years is because it's like this is really true for me is um let's see, I don't I'm trying to make figure out a way of making this sound not entirely codependent because I don't think it is. Um okay, like if I said it this way, if I said it, I can't be happy unless you're happy, that sounds a little codependent. What I really mean to say is when my partner and I are not in a good place, my life's a mess. And
I think
I don't think that's right. And when we're in a good place, my life is great. My life is just fine. And I don't mean it to be that like what I mean it to be is that I am internally a basket case. That's a little too strong because I am capable of working. I don't you know, drink a bottle of gin and then fall asleep in a stupor. None of that, none of that. But what I mean to say is when we're just in going through something where it's like, ugh, I'm just like, there'll be like 2 or 3, 4 days where I'm just like, I'm a mess. It's like, just ask me. I'm a mess. I'm a mess. And I want you to know.
I don't think that's bad. I
No, I
mean,
don't either
the
because it's like I don't want to be like, oh, like we're in an awful place and I'm just fine with that. I don't want to be that, like if I was in a relationship like that, I think I'd leave it. It's like
but I
I don't
think you
care
got
what
to
you
also
think, I'm out of
realize
here.
maybe that, I mean, you're rarely in an awful place.
Well, yeah, we're rarely in an awful place. That's right. And but there are,
So the consideration is
right,
like, if someone that I care about is going through a rough time, or
right.
we're in a not in a good place, that I believe that should have an effect on
It
one. If
absolutely.
some, and the thing is, like, codependency is like these polarizing words.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, just being upset because someone is upset, I
What I
think
mean
is
to
called
say is,
empathy.
yeah, like,
Em-
and I think what makes it not here's what makes it now. Putting it together, what makes it not codependency is I think in a previous less functional relationship, it would be like, oh, my partner doesn't like that, and so I have a problem. It's like, well, what? And then someone might say, well, what do you think of it? Well, I don't really think that's bad. It's like, well, what do you care what he thinks? I mean, like, it's like you're in a relationship, you care what the other person thinks. It's more like the problem is I'm in the room, you're in the room, we're at odds, and neither one of us is leaving in a huff. And neither one of us is comfortable pretending that everything's fine. So you know what I mean? Like if
I
you
think that's
like
great.
I think it is too. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying like if two people are, like, well, someone's out the door. It's like, okay, well, that's one way of ending a relationship. Or another way of ending a relationship is we're in the same room together, but I don't really listen to you or care. I just, and like
Right.
another way. But like the discomfort of I'm in the room, you're in the room, neither of us is leaving, and we're having some like a difference. And we're not just going to tune it out. Like, and then it's like, ow, that's uncomfortable. But I'd rather that kind of uncomfort than any of those other options of like being numb or being indifferent or being out the door. I'm out of here. I'm just gonna go like not be around for a while or I
Being
I
able to
want the
stay
discomfort of it.
present.
Yeah.
right, to stay in the discomfort. There's I've talked about the discomfort of positivity. There are sometimes when people, when things get too good, they start to feel the discomfort of something's going to go wrong because everything's going right.
That's right.
And you're now saying, I'm not leaving the room because not everything's going great, but I trust us enough. This is what I'm hearing,
yeah.
to we're going to sit with this discomfort, and we always work it out. So I'm starting to grow faith and grow trust and grow, like we got this. Like maybe it's just there's discomfort right now, but I don't have to leave the room. I have to sit for a minute, get quiet, and just let it let the answer come to me. That's where we were talking about last week, and I'm really loving the analogy of like we fall off the happiness horse, and the horse is like galloping around the field around us, and we're sort of sitting on the ground. Now it's you and your partner sitting on the ground, like, this is uncomfortable. We got thrown from the horse, but we know the horse is in the field, and in a minute or two or three or a day, we're not going to not go to breakfast together and be mean to each other. We're going to sort of sit through maybe an uncomfortable breakfast, but now we're sitting there together, and that something warms up, and then okay, we're going to, like, we still have stuff to do today. We're going to go on this thing. We're going to do it, or we're going to take, and then somehow the caring and the empathy and the love takes over. Am I missing something here?
It
That
comes back.
it
It comes
comes
back.
back. But like all of a sudden, there's the horse. You want
Yeah.
here? I'm getting up first. You want to get on the horse with me?
Right.
The happiness. They want to get back on,
Yep.
and somehow you're riding together again. Am I missing this?
No, you're not.
Or-
No, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Right.
It's just,
But
it's
when you
been
get
good for,
thrown from the horse,
yeah.
it hurts for a minute.
Oh my God. Yeah, and it's just good for me to, like, I've just found, like, at, when I'm sort of in the beginning, I go to like shutdown, because I like, um what I mean by shutdown is I don't I've been since for like a year I've been emotionally regulating in those moments, you know, at his request, but also because I've taken it on as what's very important for me. And
Me
so
too.
if what's not like, it's weird. It's like if certain things are no longer available, like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna go off in a huff. I'm gonna leave the room in a huff. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that. Okay, well, that's off the table. I'm gonna like like get all hurt, just get all hurt and no, that's off the table, you know.
Right.
Like, so, you know, I'm gonna snipe back. I don't snipe back. I'm not
No.
good at that. I mean, I'm better at it than I let on, like, because I don't, it doesn't occur to me like I'm sniping back, but then I go in retrospect, I'm like, oh yeah, you were, landing a couple too, and that wasn't good either. But okay, like, I'm taking all of that stuff off the table. So what am I left with? I'm left with, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not happy. Um, I'm not going to talk a lot because I don't trust myself to say productive things right now.
Hmm.
I will express to you that you asked me to stay cool, so that's what I'm doing. Still not happy.
But
And
you're sitting with it.
yeah, I'm soaking in
You're
it.
soaking in it.
I'm
But can I
soaking.
bring something to your attention that's
Sure.
very, very positive?
Sure. Happily.
Okay. Okay. So I want to say to all the people out there in TV land, and being funny with that. But the thing is that one of the things about emotional regulation, to me, that makes it work, is that it's your own choice. You're choosing this. Tammy, am choosing to self-regulate, not because someone is like, I'm going to leave you if you don't it's like, because they're going to leave. People can, now if people say to me, like, you're a little out of balance or whatever, like, and I can feel it, they may be making sort of an observation, or maybe it seems like a request, but it is something that I am open to and wanting to do. This is something, this is, it's like the personal trainer who says, I'll see you next week, tomorrow at the gym. And do I want to do it overall? Yes. Is it in the moment sometimes like getting in the gym? Okay, tough. But I hired that personal trainer.
Yeah.
I chose that situation. You're choosing this person in your life, these people in your life. And so you're not saying, isn't it crazy that this guy is asking me to, it's not
Be
him as a
different
problem.
and change, and how dare he, and who does he, and
Right.
why doesn't he think I'm great the way I am? And it's like, because you're not, because you're not,
Right. The thing is
and you
because
know
you're
it,
human.
because you're human, and you're right, like you're what was good, and when you're a year and a half old, you poop in a diaper, and then
Right.
and everybody's fine with that, you know,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and like, you're 6 years old, and it's like, that's not okay anymore, like TikTok. And then the 6-year old have a little tantrum and whatever. It's like, but now you're 11 and that's not okay anymore. And then the 11-year-old being like all like over the place and exuberant in a way that like, yeah, but now you're 16 and that's not okay anymore. And then the 16-year-old who's blowing off the, like commitments and whatever, and now you're 23 and that's not okay anymore. And then the 23-year-old who gets their first job and they do all sorts of goofy stuff and whatever. Now you're 31 and that's not okay anymore. And then, like, and it just keeps going on.
Right.
Right.
Right. But the thing that is the difference between life coming at you or you coming at life
Right.
is when a certain point, even let's go back to the 1.5-year old who's pooping his pants. And like eventually they're like, I want to go on the potty.
Right.
There's a day. There's
Right.
one day they're like, this is my day, like you can just see it, or they're learning to walk. Excuse me, a little less, little,
No, it's
but
it's
like you,
true. It's like I think Scott Peck talks about it. He's like, the main reason why children end up not pooping in their diapers their whole life is because they see that their parents are like over it. And they, when you're 1.5 years old, it's sort of like he's pooping in diapers, and that's normal. And like there's comes that moment when the parents are sort of like, I love you,
but it's time.
but this is getting old, man. you know?
Yeah. And the thing is that every stage where we go through a new phase, first life comes at us, like, like we see the little potty come in the house,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
what's
That's
that
it.
thing?
Right. Nobody
That
buys
what
that. Nobody buys that for a 1-month old. That's not,
no,
but it's like that the little plastic
it's
potty
it sits
sits
next
next
to
to
the regular
daddy's
potty.
toilet. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like you see, it's not even a little toilet anymore. It's like the little thing that sits on the toilet so you don't fall
Right.
through. Right.
Right.
And I'm a mother, so but the thing
No,
is,
you've been through all the stages. Right. Yeah.
right, but the that it's a the moment that we're saying that now you're at your age and I'm at my age, and we're we're working, in tandem on self-regulation. We love
Yes.
this, new part of the journey, because we did grow up in a volatile house where self-regulation of adults was not available. I
Correct.
mean, we had it in our extended family. Our grandparents were very regulated and self-regulated and really led full, beautiful lives. But self-regulation in our immediate, what is it, nuclear family,
Yeah.
was not there. So we didn't have any, we weren't modeling that. Like I have people in my life that it's kind of a joke. They said I was in my early 20s when I met the now extended, the family that I've chosen, the people that are my family. They say you were feral.
hmm
Like, you were like a feral person. I mean, you just had missing certain things that
I like
some
Farrell.
they called me, they were like, you were feral. Like, we loved you, but you were feral, like, and I would miss the biggest things. And someone said, do we ever have to teach her this? Like, one of the big things that was like, it's kind of a joke now with the family I have chosen that I love and I spend time with, friends can become family, family become friends, is that one of the two of the greatest feral Tammy moments were, I was on vacation with a group of people, and I was still drinking soda back in the day. I haven't drank soda in like many, many years, like 30 years probably, or more. And I opened up a brand new bottle of soda while the soda was for everybody in the suite of people that were staying there. Okay. And I just drank out of the 2 liter bottle of soda. That happened. And one of the people came into the room and was like, Tammy, what are you doing? And I was like, what? And it's like, feral was the word. And another time I was at a sort of family friend gathering, and I went, there was a whole bunch of people sitting there watching a movie, and I went into the kitchen and literally made myself a sandwich and got something to like a soda or something and came back in, and someone said, do you think you might have asked anybody else if they wanted a soda or a bite to eat? And it was like, it never occurred to me. And I'm in my late 20s,
Right.
drinking a bottle of 2 liter. Now, if it was like a one person soda, no one would.
Right.
But the thing is that somebody actually said, do we have to teach her that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, I did learn it,
Right.
but but it was at an inappropriate, that should have been, could have, would have, not hate the word, but
Should have and would have occurred. Words
should
we
have.
don't use. They only
At
depress us and give us the blues.
Right, but I mean, at 14, at 12, but in our household, we didn't have a mother who was sitting around teaching us manners.
Correct. In
You and I probably shared the bottle of soda out of the thing for our
God only
whole
knows.
childhood.
God only knows. In fact, I think when I say that, like, you know, we were like, I say like what I almost came out of the womb and I was shown like, you see that the bright sun over there that we're all supposed to go towards, turn around and go that way. Like that's how I felt our upbringing was because that was a
Up was down and down was up.
up was down and down was up. It wasn't just that we weren't taught to do that. We were
Correct.
taught that mere mortals do that kind of stuff. Like muggles, like people lesser than, all that.
Right?
Like, and, we're exempt from that. And like, what kind of like crazy, not a good way to raise a child, right?
Right. But it was a level of entitlement that mom had, like the kind of entitlement that was so confusing. I was scratching my head my whole childhood. I mean, it was like we've talked about it in earlier podcasts where I was punished for saying to mom, who was very, very messy. I had said to her, and I remember where I was. So I was no more than 8 years old. I would say 8 years old, I would say, because we were in Rochester. I think it was Rochester. And I had said, would the house be so messy if we just, after, if we all did it together, if you took something out, if we all just put it back. And I got a talking to and a screaming at that stopped me from ever asking questions that were, because to me, as an adult now, after no longer being feral, it's like, when you take something out, you put it back. And it works every time.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it's easy. It doesn't mean that it wasn't a transition for me to understand. But I remember being messy to not make mom mad.
Hmm. Right.
Like actually leaving things out because I was afraid if she saw me being organized that I would get in trouble. Now that's a real like, this is the kind of crazy that we grew up with. So eventually, I mean, like I made made the cheerleading squad. Mom was mad because she didn't make the cheerleading squad. So within a week, I quit the cheerleading squad
Mhm.
because these are the kinds of things that children are always trying to please their parents, whether we think about it or not. It's just how we roll. And you had a, I love Gabor Mate, and
Yeah,
was saying, like someone asked him, I think it was on the podcast I love, Diary of a CEO, uh, said, well, if two children, you like, were brought up in the same household, and Gabor Mate said, no two children are brought up in the same household.
it's absolutely true. Right.
Like your experience in the household was different than mine.
Right.
That's it.
Yes.
I don't know if you ever thought about cleaning the way I did because I got that yelling at such a young
I
age.
think I don't know if I mentioned this on this podcast, but that like the hamper thing, did I mention the hamper? I never mentioned the hamper. Okay.
Mm,
Like
I thought I knew.
I don't know what this was about, but at age, I want to say like 13 or something like that, I said to mom, I need a hamper so I can put my clothes in. Okay, that's like, wow, you got a 13-year-old boy who's like, and my room was pretty messy at that time, but I was like, I think I'd do better if I had a hamper I could put my dirty clothes in it. And mom was like, "You don't need a hamper. Let, what do you need a hamper for? I'm not going to go out and buy you a hamper."
Yeah, and they had money, so it wasn't exactly a
Money
money. It
is
wasn't
like
a money
money.
issue.
It's a like there was a place called Kmart in those days. We have Walmart now. We have Amazon. Hampers were available in those days. It's like
Also, they were wealthy.
it was a $2 item. I mean, it's like, well, I mean, like I don't. I mean, I think there's places in the world where a hamper really like taxes someone. This was not our reality, but it was like
No.
it's like, you could use a laundry basket. You could use and I was just like, man, way to throw the cold water on it. Like most mothers, if their 13-year-old kid who's like, like taking off the shoes and throwing one this way and throwing one that way and taking off the socks and throwing one on the stairs and one over the railing, like that's a 13-year-old. That's the reality of a 13-year-old boy in my estimation. It's like if you've got one of those and that yes, that species is coming to you saying, like, Mom, get me a hamper and I can make the house a little cleaner. Like mom is sort of like, where's the keys? Where's my purse? Like, can you just stay right here for a minute? I'll be right back with a hamper. Like
Right.
most, you know, so and yeah, never got the hamper. I mean, I bought
Or
myself,
even,
I have now have a hamper. I have a hamper.
yes, but the thing is, like, and if it was a different, like saying, I'll get you a hamper next week, but here in the meantime, use this laundry basket.
But it wasn't, it was right.
But
That was
it
the
was the
intention.
intention
It
behind it
was
that was so
right.
nasty.
The intention behind it was like it sounds as if you're acting like a mere mortal, as if you think that things like that matter. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
mom was like that.
she
She
was
was such
absolutely
a
like that.
weird bird. She
Yeah.
was such a weird bird. And the thing is that those things, I mean, I think I remember that now, like you telling me that years later, but those were the kinds of things, like I remember making choices when I was younger, like, you know, I can't make the bed because if I make the bed, then it's going to be showing up mom, and that's going to make her feel bad. So I'm not, I mean, so eventually what for me, what happened is I stopped anything I ever wanted, I stopped talking about because if you mentioned it, you would lose it. Did that happen to you?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I want to like point that one out because I'll bet you there's people who grew up in dysfunctional families where it's like you go off in a corner and you like, like because like a 7-year-old will say like, oh, I want a blue bicycle, and then it's like you're not getting a blue bicycle, you're getting a red one, and it's like it turns into a thing, and it's like,
Yes.
and then you're 10 and it's like, like I really want a chemistry set. You're not getting a chemistry set, you're getting a telescope, and you like so you stop your natural exuberance and wanting to share the joy of the things that you anticipate,
Oh,
like
this is big for
normally
me.
share. Yeah, it's huge. It's like
I
that
don't
you,
know where this came from, but I'm having a visceral reaction because,
yeah.
like, I've been struggling in the past few months to figure out what it is that I like. like what it is that I like and like to do. And that part of me has been shut down for so long that now I'm like, wow, I remember hiding. Not only, but for me, it wasn't just, I mean, I got silent really quickly and I got invisible really quickly, but I started actually acting the opposite of what I wanted to please mom.
Mm.
If it was like if it if it would please the the queen, I would, if one day she wanted a clean table, I would clean the table. If one day she was like, "Oh, you're trying to show me up," I would stop cleaning the table. I mean, I remember not knowing like what direction. So I stopped having preferences. I love the word preferences. It's my new favorite word.
Yeah.
Having preferences. Um, there's a, I don't know if you've ever seen this guy on the internet. He channels somebody named Bashar. He
No.
does channeling. I'm mentioning him because I find it to be interesting. And Abraham Esther Hicks channels Abraham, not the historic Abraham, but or just a bunch of entities called Abraham. Yes, we're that wacky here. So at least I am.
I do.
But he said you have Bashar was saying like you have preferences, and I thought, what a word to unpack for somebody. Now I know you have preferences. Somehow, Dad was such a good role model in
He
comparison
was. He
to
was.
Mom.
Absolutely. And since I was the boy, I was unconsciously picking up on
Right?
male, you know. I was, by the way, I don't mean to just derail your story, but like,
No,
I was like looking in the mirror the other day. Oh, no, I don't know what it was. I saw like a couple of pictures of myself and whatever, and I'm like, oh my God, I've turned into my father. I
that's a good thing. That's
and
a
it
good
is, no,
thing.
it's a really good thing. I mean, that's great because like if you're, like if the picture of your father is like, this drunken slob like falling off.
Oh no, Dad was
No,
gorgeous.
no, no,
Yeah,
exactly. That's it. And he wore it well, and he wore it
he did. He aged well.
he aged well, that kind of that unfair advantage that men have, like that, men age with
Yes,
this, distinguished sort of look. And, like,
yes.
yeah, I could do a lot worse, and aging into right, right. You could do a lot.
Right. No, no, it's true. And like, but you really had Dad as a role model. And in the ways, there are a few ways that Dad influenced me. Like I would watch him on the weekends, and he worked so hard, and
He did work
but
hard.
he would make remember, he would make charts and use different color pens. He was also an artist, and I've been an artist in my life, a working artist. And those little things have sort of stuck with me from
The
him.
charts, I wanted to clarify that the charts were, he'd be working on like all day Saturday and Sunday on, like, he'd have like a little brainstorm about how to presence. He was a salesman for Xerox. And
Yes.
so how to presence, like, oh, we've got this deal that I want to see, like, this client they could save whatever few $100s a month, but then we could also make a couple $100s more. Like it was like, and so I
Yes.
put
Yes.
this together as a like, and like color chart and whatever, and like, and I think about like you do that, like I see you doing that in your work, trying to
Sure.
find a way to present the win-win. Or for
Sure.
myself, the way to present, how like you can learn more in this way and it's going to be faster and yet you're going to feel more fun. Like, that, like, how do you create a win-win? How do you, like that's that, and that,
And that was what Dad did. Dad had like that. We are not, we're not locked up right now. Probably if we were just raised by Mom, where we did have a balance. Mom also was not, to her credit, she was not violent with us.
no,
I mean, I know that sounds like that shouldn't be something you give somebody credit for, but
that's pay to
she
play.
was,
But she also knew how
she
to,
came
she
from
knew how to stretch
abuse.
a dollar. In fact, she knew how to make a dollar cry.
Right, but she also she came from violence, you know, and she promised herself she would never hit her children, and she never did.
Right.
She would give us a tongue lashing, you know what I mean? Like we'd get a, a talking to or screaming at. But and she was not all bad. We're not saying that either. But the thing that I'm learning here is that because of my number one role model, because I'm a girl, being mom, is that what I learned was to have no preferences.
Hmm.
That it's scary if you like something, hide it, and if something is pleasing her, to like it whether you like it or not. That is something I've learned here today. And
Really?
oh yeah, I never saw that. Why do I struggle with if somebody says, you know, I don't drink soda, but Coke or Pepsi for someone? Like I was with somebody the other day who said, "Oh, we only sell Pepsi," and they wanted a Coke, and they said, "No, I don't want it. I don't like Pepsi." I was like, "You have a preference?" I mean, for me, that's a really small preference. But my thing is like, there's very few things that I have preferences about. What I've been at was in a, I was went away for the week, and there's all these meals being made, and everybody said, "Well, what would you like, Tammy?" I said, "I have no preference. I've there's nothing that I can think of that I don't like to eat unless I haven't eaten it before, And they were like, "You don't care whether we have salad or broccoli?" I'm like, "No, you don't care if you have." And the whole week, the 4 or 5 days that I was away on this particular trip, I was like, nope, don't have a preference where I sit at the table. Don't have a preference where what if we're going to go to this museum or this museum. Do you have a preference? Nope. Do you have a preference for, like, I'm realizing, like, now I am very funny with the way I decorate. I have preferences on that
Yes.
because it's something that affects no one other than myself. But when it comes to being in groups, part of why I've struggled with being, maybe I'm not an introvert. Maybe I'm just not, don't know what it's like to be in a group of people who are kind of asking you a question that you might, because then you have to keep having answers. I mean, I kept hearing myself now repeating, no, I don't have any, either one's fine with me. Any of those five things are fine with me. For days and days and days, I've gone away the past 4 weekends. And
Wow.
from the first set of weekends, and it was always like a 4 day weekend because it's in the summer and I can work when I'm away. Um, Zero preferences.
So is this slightly better, slightly worse, or I'm not sure. And I guess you come down into the I don't know land quite a lot.
I don't know land a lot, quite a lot, but now I'm saying it's what's a lot better, not just slightly better, is understanding that somewhere inside of me, I must have preferences. So understanding that it isn't that I just don't have preferences. I'm not in touch with them,
They're suppressed, right? Yes.
suppressed. And that's better to know that, when we're so agreeable, I mean, there must be other people out there that are so agreeable and think that they don't have any preferences. Like I've just thought, what do I care if we have chicken or steak? And
It's
then I
funny.
think to myself, why don't I care? Like occasionally I might want something and I just don't. I mean, I've been to places where I've thought where someone has said, we're at a Chinese restaurant, you know, would you want this or this? But you can split this with me. And I'm like, oh, well, you pick. Always,
Really?
always,
So that's a thing.
always. It's a thing. Because for me, if I was at a Chinese restaurant by myself, I'd be ordering the lo mein.
That's what you like.
But I've never shared a lo mein with anybody. It's always chicken and broccoli or beef and broccoli. And
Because
I
the other
always say
person
whatever
doesn't
one you
want
want.
it. If you, in other words,
I've
if
never even suggested the lo
I
mein.
never knew you not, I mean, I've known you a long time and I've never known you like lo mein. I would have never thought, oh, I should get a lo mein for Tammy because she's coming over and we're having Chinese food and I'm ordering it now and I should get her a lo mein. But I will now.
Right, but because usually when people order Chinese food, they have a little bit of like everything, and I always feel like whatever someone else is having, I'll have, I'll share with them. Isn't that funny that do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I totally do. Yeah,
I mean, unless we were having, so why, and your small preferences lead up to a life.
that's right. That's right. So I would say it's like it sounds like in the next week. And by the way, like if this is happening for you, it's like it's probably happening for someone else who might be watching.
Yeah.
Someone else might resonate with like, oh, like I don't like, but I would say to you, like, sounds like in the next week, just to like look at that And like,
Absolutely.
do I want this or do I want that? Which one looks better? Like, whatever. Yeah.
It's just like the small things in life lead up to a big life.
It's all, I mean, Eckhart Tolle would say, like, ultimately it's all small things. There are no, it's like now I'm standing up and I'm crossing the room. Now I'm picking up a cup. Now I'm pouring a soda. Now I'm sitting back down. Now I'm turning on the television. Now I'm like, it's like
But
this
that's your
endless
life.
series of nows, right? Is exactly. If you're doing that, like that thing that I just said, if you're doing that with you know, oh, I need to get this done. I need to get this cup. Oh, I need to get this done. I need to get this show watched. Oh, I need to get this done. I need to drink this. Oh, I need to get this done. I need to get to bed. Oh, I need to get this. Like, you could spend your whole life like needing to get it done. And then at the end of your life, say, oh, I got it done. I'm dead.
But also, I love the saying, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really true. It's like, I'm sure that now that I'm going to start to look around at this, that this is not just happening at the
Watch
dinner
for it
table.
everywhere. Watch for it everywhere. Right. It's like, right, do you want like, the woman behind the counter, like, oh, do you want like coleslaw or potato salad with that? You
I
know,
usually say whatever's
whatever.
whatever.
Right. It's like, yeah, but like if someone put it like, God, like, tell me which one you want, or I'm gonna blow your head off.
Potato salad for
Potato
sure.
salad.
Potato salad for sure. But it's like now that I'm thinking about it this way, it's really one of those the ironic things, like you just think to yourself, unless I really loathe something and I can't and I'm a go along to get along kind of person in my personal life, very different than in my coaching life because I'm a stickler for things in my with coaching.
Right.
But the irony of this is like, and I don't think that anybody who knows me knows this about me.
I don't didn't know this about you. I didn't even know you like lo mein, let alone like that this is a pattern. So, that yeah, okay, like that like I have to like now think back on, a number of years like I'm like, oh that's fine, 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 oh that's fine. Like,
I know exact, but now also from talking about mom, I know exactly where it comes from.
sure.
Ne- Trying to stay out of the line of fire.
Right, like right, exactly. Like, right. If you like lo mein, you shouldn't like lo mein. What's wrong with you? That's you like we don't eat lo mein in this family. It's like, right, if you
Wh-
okay, then I'll have the chicken with broccoli. Like chicken with broccoli, we don't eat chicken with
So my thing is, I would say, what does everybody want? And
Mm,
everybody makes decisions, and it's like I'm like, what, just whatever you think.
mm.
So these are interesting things. Like there's small things. So when I'm alone by myself, why does also someone become an introvert? Because alone, we started with a very funny thing. I can put a cover on my, that would in our household, it would be like that's such a silly thing. Why do you need like there's no reason to put contact paper on your notebook. There's no why would you do that? Why would be the reason for it? What would be and it's like just you just don't do it. But when you are alone a lot, become an introvert, we talked about that,
Hmm.
is that you can make your own decisions.
Right, right. But the downside, of course, is that
You're alone all the time.
yeah, that's put a fine point on it. Yeah. Right.
To put upon but and that has been where the change of what I've thought of, which took me all those years. I thought I thought I'm going to repeat this until every person has heard this. Removing the bad things in your life is not happiness. That is called relief.
Good. Good.
Removing this right, removing things from your life that are bad. It creates relief. And it's a form, it's the beginnings of happiness. But what you put into your life, that's why I'm saying adding things in. Now, do you see the difference of why adding things in is so difficult?
There's choices. Right.
You have to
Like
make
everybody,
choices.
like, I have a headache. Would you like not to have the headache? Yes. But that's not there's no creativity there. It's sort of like, I'd like
Right.
a hammer to stop hitting my head, right? But now the hammer stops hitting your head. So, what would you like today? I don't know.
I don't know.
Time to start thinking about that. Right,
Yeah.
right.
And that's the beginning of something. I'm sure I'm not the only person that feels this way.
Oh, I'm positive. Positive.
So, and it's the irony is that when I'm looking into someone else's life, these things are so clear to me and so um workable, and they're so you can coach somebody right out of these things if you can see them. But it does take a little bit of a minute to go back and say, sometimes you have to figure out where it came from, sometimes you don't, because every problem you have is sitting in your life right now.
But sometimes it does help to go like, oh, I see where that, like the seed got planted here, and now there's this big old weed that I'm
Weed.
like pulling it's not coming out of the ground too easy because the seed is really well planted a long time ago, right?
Right. And you on the other side of the equation, I'm going to get off of me for a second, but you on the other side of the equation, creativity was, I think, somehow also your creative mind as a young person in our family was nurtured.
It was, but what's also true is I also, it was nurtured while I was alone. I don't think it was nurtured.
Interesting. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that was, um, it wasn't nurtured. It was, let me think about this. Um, I was supposed to be a certain way. I think that like like half the world can relate to that. Like if you're talking about dysfunctional families, half the world can relate to my side and half the world can relate to your side. Like, like
Hmm.
either like left to your own devices, like, oh, like Tammy's out in the backyard eating dirt. Well, that's just fine, right?
Yes, true,
Right,
true.
right, okay. And then there's right. Not good. Not good. And then
No, but so true.
right. Yeah, that's it. It's
But
like,
Tammy,
well,
she's gonna be fine. She's
she's
always
playing
gonna
with a
be fine.
cobra. It's like, oh, she'll be fine. Like, most
So
we're
true.
like a normal, and that's it. And then my side was overly micromanaged, like micromanaged to the
Abs.
nth degree, where it's like I just went into my own little world for a couple 3 years. And that was a dark time because it was like, like my own little world was the only safe place because mom was crazy and she was making me into a person that then couldn't get along in the world. And so the world was coming back at me with, like school stuff was, until I got my head straight and then could go into school and be like this kind of halfway normal kid,
Well,
right?
she always sort of groomed you to be smarter than everyone else.
Right. And you know what? People don't like that. It's like, and that
You
does,
didn't like that.
I didn't like that. Nobody likes that because it wasn't true. It wasn't, it was like it didn't strike me as true. It was like smarter, like smart? Sure. But like I see a lot of cool, smart kids. I work with a lot of cool, smart kids.
Sure.
They're all different and they're all amazing. And, and I mean that.
Oh, I know.
I mean that. It's like because if you're a teacher and you care about kids, you find what's amazing about them and you react to it in a good way. But that's very different from like, my little Hubert is the smartest person in the entire world. It's like that's kind of a messy, that's like, iceberg dead head kind of thinking. So for me, it
Sure.
was like you kind of created your own little world for yours. It's weird because I would have thought, I think more you went out and had more of a social life at a certain age because it was safe out there. And I kind of went into my room and was just sort of like made a little cocoon because it was safe in there. And now it's sort of we're a little bit
Well,
reversed.
because well, the thing about it is, think about it this way. I would, oh, if you could have guessed at that age who was going to be the extrovert and who was going to be the introvert,
It would have been
you
not
would
you
have,
and not right.
would have been an absolute switch because you're an
Right.
extrovert as an adult and
Right.
I'm an introvert as an adult for now. Things
For
can
now.
change.
Right.
But my thought was for me, going out in the world was all the reason I could go out because I was 100% go along to get along,
hmm
whatever the crowd is doing.
Right.
whatever the cool kids are doing.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that makes sense. So
I
that
was the
makes you a whole
always
lot
the
of
one.
fun. Right. Yeah, that makes you a whole lot of
Like,
fun in a crowd full of
s-
teenagers who are trying to fit in.
who's gonna sit in the middle seat in the car? Tammy will sit in the middle seat.
Right.
Who's gonna get squished in? Who's gonna, like, who's gonna, sit at the back of the bus? Who's going to bring, who's always gonna pick up the slack financially? Like if you're
Mhm.
like, oh, Tammy, it's the pizza for everybody is $15 and we only have $6, you know,
I got it.
amongst all of us, you
Right.
know, who's going to pick, oh, if we're, who we, if so we don't know how to get home from the mall tonight, and it's like Tammy will get us home, you know what I mean? Like, so I was a real crowd pleaser, and think about how negatively that worked when I started getting into boys.
Mm,
But talk about going along to get along. Why do you think I was had a baby at 17?
right. Okay, that's rough. That's rough. Yes.
All the cool kids are doing it.
Right. And you didn't have
I don't know.
somebody
I
saying,
don't know how to say no.
right. And you didn't have a, a parental figure stopping saying like, this is
No,
serious. We
I
need to
didn't. We
talk
didn't have
about
sex
this.
education in school at that
Uh,
age.
hmm.
So what? So you went with mom making you sort of the weirdo kid out in the world. You were like, I don't want to be seen as this weirdo kid
Right. I don't want to
who's
be this weirdo kid. Be seen as seen. I don't want to be right. Yeah. All of the above.
right. So you started cocooning at home until you got the strength because you could fight mom. And I remember when you sort of like, I'm changing, I'm changing my look, I'm changing my this, I'm changing my this. And you only had to deal with that for like a year or so because you went off to college at 15,
Not
15 and a
15. No,
half,
no, no. 17.
16.
17.
Really? I
I
thought you
was
went,
17.
well, you had to be a year early. Oh, it's
Yeah, 17
17?
is a year early. That's right. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I'm missing
Yeah.
the,
15
so
would have been like Doogie Howser stuff. I wasn't quite there,
she would have liked that though. She tried
I
a lot of
would have
times.
loved
Yeah.
that. Right.
Right. But your last few years of high school, you kind of changed your ways and went out. And, but when you went out into the world, you kind of had preferences. So you found your people. And when you went to college, you definitely found your people.
I did. I felt very lucky that way. I did find my way into a dorm. Like I feel like, wow, I got really, like when like you roll the dice and it's like just, like you win. Like
Well,
7-Eleven.
that was the lottery that like roll the dice. At 17, I was giving birth. At
Yeah.
17, you were finding your people in a
Right.
dorm at Rutgers. Like
Right.
you found the
Exactly.
creative dorm, you found your people, and I was giving birth to a child. And happy he's here, love him, he's the
Right.
greatest. But my point is that this talk there is so much of a roll of the dice for things, and so much that is happening exactly the way it's supposed to happen. That
Right.
duality is what we live with on this planet.
Yeah.
But your experience now being away from home,
Hmm.
being really who you are as an extrovert, you thrive around people, really thrive around people. And you know what? Everybody thrives around people. Now that I'm finding my people at this age,
That's it. It's like
I'm thriving.
yeah, I think that that's true. I mean, I know that some people need more
I
recharging.
need more.
I
That's
need
why I'm
I
moving.
need some hey, I need some recharging too. Like I thought for years I knew that I wasn't um a wallflower or a hermit, but I really thought of myself as an introvert for a long time because I do need to recharge. But I think that that's normal. I think that that's like
Everybody needs that. Introverts, extroverts,
right.
they
I
definitely
mean,
need it.
but like I think that what really sold the deal for me was during COVID because I know people like I know people who were, like, oh, how are you doing? And they're like, oh, I'm managing. I'm okay.
That was me.
Right, that were you. I'm managing. I'm managing with like, I'm coping with COVID and it's okay. It's fine. And I was like, I'm tearing my eyes out of my skull going.
Yeah. Well,
And
travel is so important. You travel, and also the way you travel, I love. You
Mhm.
travel and connect
With
with
people.
friends
Yes.
all the time. That's it's not you are not not that you're not traveling to see the scenery or live in beautiful places or do all these things. All that is part of it. But every time I talk to you in the most positive way, I hear that you're either spending time with friends that you already know, or I've just met this amazing group of people. Like you have really understood how connection is the core of all great things in life. And I am just learning that. I'm moving from Philadelphia back home to New Jersey, which I and the new we always say the New Jersey motto is you'll be
Be
back.
back.
And I used to I when I moved to New York, I thought I'll never come back. And my favorite movie of all time is The Wizard of Oz. And it comes down to there is no place like home.
Right. Yes.
There is no place like home. There's no place like home. And the people that are there, I mean, it's the people you see once a week. It's the mailman that you know. I mean, it's like
No,
Mr.
it's true.
Rogers'
It's
Neighborhood.
true. It's like you're talking about community. You're talking about
Community.
finding your people, community. It's what I found at a certain age. It sounds like you're moving towards finding it now, and that's a beautiful thing.
Took a long time, but also the thing about it is that if you don't know, that's where I come up with the slightly better, slightly worse, and I don't know. It's like knowing what happiness looks like and feels like is the goal. Because I spent a lot of years thinking happiness was removing things to get more isolated so that I could be happy. And that was the wrong lesson. I don't know who that lesson is for. Removing things that are painful, yes, but now sitting in that and then saying, okay, being completely alone, not because it's COVID, but by choice, not so much. And realizing that happiness is about what you put into your life. And I think we should start to end on that note, but the things putting in and the people that you put in and doing it intentionally. And sometimes you have to uproot your life like you are, move halfway around the world. And sometimes you have to move 2 states away to get to a place where you are in community are your people. Almost none of these things happen because people got your back.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the essence of happiness is being surrounded by the people and places and things that you love. And how do you create that? Stay tuned till next time.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed. Yeah.
So anyway, one of the things I wanted to say on this podcast too is that, if anybody would want to, I'm a life coach. Mark is explain what you if you do
Education
anything.
coach working with kids to teach mostly math, also English, SAT work. Yes.
And if anybody wants sessions with either one of us individually, contact us in the comments or DM us on Instagram. So that would be fine too. So we hope to see you back here next week when we're going to have another episode of Beyond. And I'm looking forward to it.
Me
Today
too.
was very unusual for me.
Yes. Yes. I think you had like a little mini breakthrough or maybe
This is what a
a
breakthrough looks like
right. This is what breakthrough looks
in
like.
real time. In
Yeah.
real time.
And
So
next time we have Chinese food together, I'm ordering lo mein.
I know, I know. And also like and subscribe if you're for watching us.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Bye everybody. See you next week.